Hey there guys, how's it going? I'm Tyler and this is your Movie Fix. So I got to check out Tarantino's new movie, The Hateful Eight. And just before we really dive into it, I want to say that this is the first Tarantino film that I have seen in theaters, so it was definitely a treat to be able to get that. I've been a big fan of his and I really hopped on the train after Inglourious Basterds, so I kind of forgot that this was happening, you know, with all the hype around Star Wars. So yeah, this was a really nice treat to go and see. So what the hell is it about? In the middle of a Wyoming blizzard, two bounty hunters are on their way to Red Rock, Wyoming to cash in on their bounties. Due to the weather though, they had to find shelter in a cabin currently inhabited by a collection of rather interesting people. So this movie is pretty stacked. There is a great cast in there starring Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Walter Goggins. Really, they're the main ones, but there's several other people. This is a pretty stacked movie with a lot of great talents, and I think one of the strengths here is that Tarantino is really able to tweak the scripts just a little bit for the actors that he works with, which I think is something always good, you know, especially like what he did with John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, how he specifically wrote that role for him. So I think he's really good at doing that. I think it worked a lot for most of these characters. So the Major, played by Samuel L. Jackson, he gets a little stranded in the snow, and then there's a blizzard on the way, and along comes the Hangman, who he has to get a ride with, who's also carrying his bounty, Daisy Domergue, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. So about 45 minutes to an hour takes place on this carriage that he gets a ride on, which I didn't expect. I really didn't think they would spend this long, but there's really only about 2 sets in the movie with this carriage and where they're going. So there's a lot of interesting back and forth going on between the Major and the Hangman and Daisy Domergue. I thought they all had really great chemistry. You never really learned what Daisy Domergue did. You just know that she's a pretty hateful woman who did some pretty fucked up things, but they never really tell you. Kurt Russell and Samuel L. Jackson had a real nice chemistry. I thought they worked pretty damn well together. And every now and then, Jennifer Jason Leigh's Daisy Domergue, she would kind of make some comments that you're like, man, somebody needs to hit this woman. And they do. They hit the hell out of her, and it's pretty hilarious every time they do. It's very situational humor. The humor in this movie was fantastic. It worked very well. It's very Tarantino. And along the way, they also pick up Walter Goggins' character, the sheriff, who just so happened to be caught in this blizzard as well, so they have to make a deal with him, and he catches a ride, and they're on their way to Red Rock, Wyoming, but they have to make a stop at Minnie's haberdashery. So they find their way over to Minnie's haberdashery, and they get there, and a couple things don't add up. This is where things get a little interesting. Now, Samuel L. Jackson's The Major is already familiar with this place. It's a little, you know, haberdashery. It's a little store, an inn kind of deal, and he's familiar with the owners. He's been going here a lot of his life. And the owners are not here. They're already inhabited by a couple other people, and some other people were claiming they're taking over and running the store for just a little while they're out. But he's not really buying into their bullshit. He thinks it's all a lie, and that's really what it's all about. Pretty much the rest of the movie takes place in here, and this is where we meet a lot more characters and a lot more tension is introduced. And pretty early on, the Hangman pretty much warns everyone in there about Daisy Domergue and what he plans to do with her, which at first I'm like, why would you tell everybody that you're carrying this woman dead or alive for $10,000? But I think it really speaks a lot about the character of the Hangman, who just really does not give a fuck. He's like, if anybody wants to come at me, you come at me. You'll have to deal with me if you want to get to her. And the whole time he keeps her chained up to him, so she can't really run away or anything like that. So really early on, you find out that this story is really about Daisy Domergue, and someone or someone's here at Minnie's haberdashery are trying to set her free and break her out and stop her from being hung. There's also this old guy, the General Smithers, and he has a great back and forth with the Major, Samuel L. Jackson, and this will probably be one of the most controversial parts in the film. It was really funny, really uncomfortable. It worked for me, and you throughout this movie, you don't really know who's telling the truth. Especially this scene, I'm not sure how much of it was the truth. You find out some people are lying, plenty of them are, and that's when we kind of get into the Tarantino twist. That's what I was waiting for. Most of this movie was linear storytelling, and Tarantino likes to do a little bit of non-linear, so that's what he brought in, and he did it a little strange for him. It was a voiceover, which I'm pretty sure was his voice, so that was a little jarring to hear at first. At first, I did not like it, but it did introduce a much-needed element to the story to drive it. It was a little bit of a twist. He goes back and explains something. This is when the movie turns into whodunit. This turns into a game of Clue with Samuel L. Jackson, which is fucking great.
Does he look like a bitch?
And ultimately, it does turn into a survival, a whose side are you on story. Are you really believing what these people are saying? Are you believing what these people are saying? Who did this? Who did that? And it turns into a lot of great tension, a lot of action, but not Kill Bill kind of action. It's just he stepped up the gore just a little bit. I think this is probably the most Tarantino has shown in one of his movies as far as the gore goes. So that was really good. But this movie is very character driven, very, very dialogue driven. Like I said, there's only 2 set pieces really. So this had to be driven very well, but with the actors and the characters and the story, and that's really what it was all about. It's a very simple story about these people surviving in this cabin, but it all worked because of the tension and everything that was going on between the interactions and these characters. And I honestly think the standout in this movie had to have been Samuel L. Jackson, which he's pretty much in almost every Tarantino movie. He's been working with him from the beginning. And it was nice to see him in the forefront. I honestly can't even remember the last time I saw Sam Jackson or Kurt Russell lead a movie. It's been a long time. I know they're out there, but I haven't personally seen one in a long time. And it was great to see Sam Jackson working with Tarantino in this capacity. It was really great. He got to show some awesome chops. Everyone did an awesome job. I didn't really think there was any performance that was weak in this movie to me. Walter Goggins playing the sheriff, who at first I was like, I'm gonna get tired of this guy's accent really quickly, but he's a rebel from like West Virginia, whatever, so it's just how Tarantino is. He's very stylized, hyper realistic, very violent, and that's what you get in this movie. If you're not on the Tarantino train by now, you're probably not gonna like this movie. If you love Tarantino, you're gonna love this movie because it's very Tarantino. Now, if I really had any complaints, and these are just nitpicks because I really enjoyed almost everything about the movie, is that there were probably some unnecessary shots. There was one sequence where it was just like 3 or 4 minutes of a carriage going through the snow with just landscape shots, which I'm sure if you saw this in 70mm, which I didn't, all of that was probably great to see, and it was great to see on the big screen. Like I said, I'm nitpicking. It didn't do a damn thing for the story. It just like 4 minutes of showing a carriage with no dialogue, nothing, going through the snow in like the middle of the movie. Little bits of it probably could have been trimmed, things that maybe didn't serve the story very well, but again, I'm nitpicking. I really did enjoy this movie. It does have a very satisfying ending. This was a fun, funny movie. Great action, great suspense, everything that was going on between the characters. So I'm going to have to give The Hateful Eight a 9.4 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed this movie, and I cannot wait to get it on Steelbook. So comment down below, guys. I want to know, what is your favorite Tarantino movie after seeing The Hateful Eight, or do you plan on going to see The Hateful Eight? I highly recommend that you go see this for the holidays. Go see it on New Year's Day. Nothing's going on. Go watch this movie. So that's it, guys. That's all I have for now. If you want more videos like this, be sure to subscribe for more movie news, movie reviews, and trailer reactions. I will see you guys on the next video.